To be on the call today. Welcome. My name is Christopher Kim. I'm a national director here at Riman, coming from North America. We are truly excited about the prospect of the UK and the rest of the European markets opening. Eventually, from the UK and the European Union, we anticipate to see many, many national directors, senior directors, team leaders, and senior managers, so on and so forth, hit the ranks and achieve success. But in order to do that, to achieve success, the pillars of the foundation of this business that you must learn is probably the most important thing. Right now, a lot of us are focused on catching that big fish, right? How do we get a fish? I need to catch a fish. I'm hungry. I need to get a fish. But the reality is, before we catch the fish, we need to learn how to catch the fish independently on our own, meaning we need to be an independent leader to be able to generate revenue, customer sales, and bring on business partners independently by ourselves. And our goal here is to be accountable to the success, not necessarily responsible, but we are accountable to help and give you the information for you to be successful. So with that said, anybody that's new here, welcome to the Riman community. We will be commencing the Riman orientation, followed by a leadership training. If it's your first time today, this is the time to take some notes, learn the ABCs and the 1, 2, 3. So with that said, we're going to dive into this. I'm going to jump through this. I'm going to fly through this. Obviously, the orientation agenda for the new person, we're going to introduce you to welcoming you to Riman, how the support system works, how to launch your business properly, and we're going to be giving out some few announcements, and then we will go into some of the leadership training. As you know, Riman needs no introduction. They've been started. They got started as a company in 2018. Domestically, for their first 4 years within South Korea, they did 2.5 billion in revenue, which made them the #1 rated K-beauty. Think about this, right? 2.5 billion in South Korea alone. They highlighted 40 million bottles sold in Korea, but let's look at that in context. There's 50 million people in South Korea. So 95% of the whole population used it. Obviously, when they realized they had that much success, they said, we want the rest of the world to access this and get on the K-beauty wave train that's been happening worldwide globally. So with that said, they opened North America, Taiwan, Hong Kong, Mexico, Malaysia, Singapore, so on and so forth. Now we're at the UK, Italy, France, Germany, Ireland, so many, many, many more countries, Spain. A lot of these countries are opening up, and we're in the thick of it. But if you really think about it, this is an opportunity of a lifetime to capture a growing company with massive momentum, to capture that moment in time as they expand. You're literally positioning yourself in a tidal wave of opportunities. All right. So let's talk about the Riman concept, right? We're going to go over 5 major pillars. What is the philosophy? When it comes to our products, the founding chairman, his philosophy was, even though I could sell it for hundreds of millions of dollars, even though I could sell a bottle for 5, 6, 7, $800, let's make it really affordable luxury where everybody can access this and gain great products, right? Obviously, truth and honesty in products, right? Truth and honesty in price. Now, when it comes to the plan, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail, right? If you don't have a plan B, if you don't have something secured for your future, ladies and gentlemen, this is it. And the good news is a golden life-changing opportunity will never show up to your front door dressed up in gold lining and silver lining, letting you know it's the opportunity of a lifetime. To the contrary, it shows up almost like a beggar at your door asking for food, right? You guys have seen, the iconic cartoon movie Beauty and the Beast, right? Before the king turns into a beast, right? There's this old lady, that has nothing to show for, shows up, puts him to the test, asks for help, and lo and behold, it was a magical fairy princess, right? Just like that, right? Opportunity comes in the most mysterious ways. It doesn't come gift wrapped to you. You must be able to identify an opportunity for what it can be and not what it is today. All right, so let's talk about the Riman.com. This needs not much introduction, but pretty much it's your online platform that's going to help you run a business, run your logistics. The best way to learn this, I'm not going to explain everything, is log in, go through it, run a simulation, do some window shopping, put in your password, see where the customers go, see how to create a bag, see where the shopping mall is. All you got to do is do the action and you're going to learn it ABC 1, 2, 3. Very easy peasy. All right. Now let's talk about the drive. What the drive really is it is a marketing database for everything you need in the business, right? Products, sheets, brochures, social media material, business tools, forms, company videos, more promos. Every single thing you need is a database. Before you call the company or ask your upline, take the time to go to exploreriman.com, go into the marketing section and explore. Everything you need will be accessible at the tip of your fingers. All right. Now let's talk about launching your business properly. I would say this by far is probably the most important part. I call this your mental exercise. Now, for a business plan, you must have a short-term goal and a long-term goal. Let me explain why this is so important. Okay. Because goals will change over time. You will hit your goals eventually, and you're going to need new goals, right? So it is absolutely important to set that short-term goal. Do I want to be a team leader? Am I going to be a director in 6 months? What is the long-term goal, right? Do you want to get rid of some mortgages, some bills, maybe retire a spouse, or help your offspring out? Whatever the case may be, you must set the goal. But here is the caveat. If you fail to set your short-term and long-term goal, that is going to indicate to your upline you're not serious about your success. You see, a magical thing happens when you start goal setting. Goal setting, it literally programs the mind subliminally to force you to get it done. And that is why when there's a saying, when the mind makes a decision to do something and make it happen, the universe conspires to make it happen with you, right? Now, in biblical terms, you could call that faith, believing something you can't see with the naked eye, but wholeheartedly believing it is possible, right? So, with that said, it is absolutely to show up and do the exercise of the short-term goals. Business coach Brian Tracy, he says, when you launch a new partner and they refuse to do this, don't waste your time with them because they don't understand the importance of goal setting. Now, at the end of it, I want you to set your why, your why. You see, your short-term and long-term goals become the driver of achieving your why. Now, when I talk about your why, here's all I'm going to say. Does your why make you cry? When you think about the why you do this, does it make you cry? Well, let me explain to you and take it a step further. If the why is strong enough, the how becomes easy. I say it all the time, right? Your why is your child. If he or she is stuck in a burning building, does the how matter? How you get them out does not matter. Same thing. Why are you doing this business, right? Does it bring a tear to your eye because your why is so important and special and dear and near to your heart? Okay, now let me give you another example. The days you have a not so good day in business, right? There's those days, and then there's going to be good days in business. Good days in business makes your business grow. Bad days in business forces your leadership to grow. And every time you have a discouraging heart, I want you to fall back on that why and ask yourself, is this tiny little setback enough to give up on my why? Probably not. Let me take it a step further. Let's say there is a single mother. She is $500 short of getting her child a new iPad before the new school season starts. That is her why. She knows in her heart of hearts, in the back of her mind, if she is just willing to do 3K pop-up meetings and make $1,000 sale, she'll be able to collect that $500 commission. Just because a few people said, no, I'm not interested, is it going to stop that mama bear from pushing on through those meetings to achieve her goals? It will not stop her. She'll run through a brick wall to get that done. I mean, we've heard of like a mother's child being stuck under a car, and all of a sudden, because of adrenaline, a mother's super strength kicks in and she can lift a car just to get her child out. Think of that kind of a why. Does your why make you cry? And in the face of opposition, in the face of a setback, is your why big enough to make you keep going? That is the most important mental exercise of all in the entire business. All right, now let's talk about the senior manager game plan. We all know how senior manager works, but let's talk about the goal date and the achievement date, right? Let's write down a realistic goal date, right? But the truth is, you could become a senior manager in a day. You could do it in 2 days. You could do it in a week, in a month. The reality is it's the same amount of effort that you must put in to get the job done. It is not necessarily about the time. This is about the effort, the same amount of effort where time is kind of irrelevant. Right now, let's talk about the achievement date. When you set the goal date and the achievement date, you're going to see a gap of how long it actually took to achieve it versus the desired goal date. Now, what that does is it shows you a window of how much sense of urgency you must practice to hit your goal date. Once you refine this, you will be able to calculate your income like a calculator. Because remember, X amount of meetings is going to yield you X amount of customers and X amount of new distributors to join your business. So how do you up the production numbers? You got to up the volume of meetings you're doing. Now, you're only 24 hours in a day given, right? You don't have 30 hours. It's not like Warren Buffett has 60 hours in a day and he gets to be a billionaire. No, this is about working smart. And that is where leverage comes in and team building plays a role because we all know I can't get 10,000 customers in a day, but a team of maybe 1,500 people doing a lot of a little bit in your organization can get you 1,000 customers in a day. That is the power of leverage and working smart versus working hard. If you look at any McDonald's, I came to the UK about a month and a half ago. I went to Spain. I've been all over the world just as a hobby though, because I grew up poor eating McDonald's. Everywhere in the world I go to, I make it a point to try every McDonald's in every country. But here's what I learned. The Big Mac tastes the same in every country. Here's another thing I learned. If you look at the Big Mac sign, it says over 99 billion burgers sold. What I do know is they didn't sell it from one hamburger stand. They sold it from multiple locations, whether it's in the UK, Japan, Spain, Ireland, or in New York. Every time you're leaving this McDonald's, you're just getting closer to the next one, right? What did they master? They mastered the power of duplication, speed and exposure, and convenience. That is the recipe to duplication. That is the secret sauce to success. So remember, look at your goal date, look at your achievement date, and hone in on how faster you could hit your goals. When you're effectively doing that, that means you know how to manage your time, money-making time investment, and exactly how many meetings it takes to get the desired income. This is mastering senior manager. Okay, in our pay plan, it's all about how fast you could duplicate senior managers. The amount of senior managers you create is going to dictate team leader, director, senior director, and national director. Okay. The highlight is going senior manager, learning how to do it, replicating it, teaching others how to do it. And you do that long enough, then you end up as a team leader. Okay. Obviously, qualifications, you need 6,000 SP in a rolling 3 calendar months, not 90 days or 30 days, but in a rolling 3 calendar months. Personal orders, personal customer orders, all of this counts. Obviously, you need 3 active customers and you will be paid as a senior manager 30 to 40% on what you buy or sell. So this graph right here pretty much shows, the stuff that you'll make, you being a customer getter, selling customers 30 to 40%. But also if you want to make expansion money, you want to grow aggressively without having to do a whole lot of work. In the beginning, it requires hard work, dedication, but over time, you're going to be able to leverage other business partners, customers over time, right? And as you build a manager, senior manager, as you go, you're going to be able to take a piece of their pie, right? So if I have a manager and I'm a senior manager, a manager takes 20, I get 30, I take the difference of 10%. If I create a same rank senior manager, I get a generation pay of 5%. Pretty cut and clear. Now let's get into team leader, right? Now, team leader is the first position that has the word leader, meaning it is the first leadership rank where you get paid like a leader, right? Senior manager, manager, planner. I would consider these positions more like an affiliate marketing where you can make some really great income selling products. But if you want to get into the expansion, some of the bigger money where the unusual way can give you the unusual pay, a lot more money on your time, a lot more money and time on your hands, right? There's a lot of professions where you can make a lot of money and no time. but there's very few professions where you can make a lot of money and have a lot of time on your hands. Okay. Now, with that said, let's talk about team leader, right? Obviously, you want to write the goal date on when you want to hit it and your achievement date. This is intentional because it shows how much meetings you must do to actually hit your achievement date. This is a mental exercise on your schedule. Obviously, to be a team leader in a rolling 5 calendar months, you must do 50,000 SP in sales. You need 3 senior managers, and you can only do 50,000 at least in 2 legs, meaning you can only count half per leg. You can only count 25,000 points per leg. So you need at least 2 to show that you know how to build this. You need 5 active customers, and that will get you at a base pay of 40% base commission, right? So think about it. So anything I buy or sell, anywhere from 40 to 50%, that goes to me. Me as a team leader, if I bring in a brand new planner that makes 10% and I'm at a 40, that difference of 30% rolls up to me for what this person buys or sells. If I have a manager, obviously I make 20%. Senior manager, I make the difference of 10%. And from team leader on, we have something called leadership matching bonus, as well as the matching uni level, which starts at every rank. But this is a powerful way to get paid, because here, pretty much this is all you need to remember. You're going to get paid on unlimited levels of every transaction in your entire downline up until the next team leader rank in your team. So where there is no team leader in your leg, you're going to get paid on all of it on the entire depth, and whatever transaction happens between a planner, manager, and senior manager, everything left over in the entire downline rolls up to the team leader. This is where the money starts to get big. But let me explain to you the easiest way to become a team leader. Okay. To become a senior manager, it requires 6,000 SP. I told you the name of the game is going senior manager and replicating and helping others do so. So here you become successful by mastering replication of senior managers. You make a lot of senior managers, you're going to go team leader. You make a lot of senior managers, you're going to become a director. You make a lot of senior managers, you're going to become senior director. You make a lot, like several hundred senior managers, and you're duplicating it, you're going to become a national director. Everything, the foundation is built upon how many senior managers you can build and how fast you can replicate yourself, right? So the fastest way to getting to team leader is by creating 3 senior managers in 3 separate legs that will essentially get you over the top, making you a team leader very efficiently, right? So the name of the game is from planner to senior manager, how fast you could fill that gap by doing K-pop-up parties, Zooms, and attending the live trainings. All right. So the duplication of senior managers is the fastest way to become a team leader. It's all about senior manager factory. All right. So let's talk about committing to the plan. All right. Number 1, if you are new in this business, I want you to schedule your first 2K pop-ups. I'm not talking Zoom. I'm talking in person, belly to belly in person. Now, here's what I want you to know. Okay. Yes, we want the result. Yes, we're trying to get you to manager, senior manager. Yes, we want to sell product. Yes, we want a successful event. But more important than that is you going through the motion of the ocean. It doesn't really matter what happens in your K-pop event. What matters is that you launched it, you did a grand opening, and you did it. The reason why you have to do this is you must learn, understand, and eventually master what happens in a K-pop up, ladies and gentlemen. You must learn how an onslaught sale happens. These are 20, 30, 40, 60-pound products. No one's going to think about it. When you're talking about the #1 K beauty, it's trending all over TikTok. Now, if I'm selling a $500 face cream, yeah, I got to think about it. I might need to talk to my spouse. But a $60 cream with a money back guarantee, 99% of the women are going to take a bet on that unless they don't like you and they don't want to try the product, okay? That's just the truth of the matter. So you got to know how onslaught sales happens. You also got to know how to enroll a brand new planner from that event. And also, you got to learn and see what rejection looks like. Because you know what? Not everybody's going to join your business, and that's okay. No is a part of the business. But here's something that can be a little bit soothing and a little bit a little bit of, I guess, comfort for you, okay? When you get a no, it's completely normal. More people are going to say no. But on the flip side, being rich ain't for everybody either. And we're here looking and sorting for the ones that want it. All right. Make a list. If you don't make a list, don't expect to grow a business. Okay. What I mean is don't prejudge your people. Don't come and tell me, oh, this person's probably not going to do it. This person is going to do it. Why? The people you think that are going to do it will never do it. And the people you thought that will never do it, they're the ones that likely join. Do you know how many faces I see right now on the screen? People nodding their head. Yep, that's true. Because y'all been through it, right? So remember, if you're new, make a list. It is not your decision to make a decision for them. It is your job to sort and let them make the decision. Obviously, create your product and business story. Look your best. Be a walking billboard because that becomes the catalyst to start a conversation. Julia, did you get Botox? And Julia goes, no, I'm trying the new K Beauty. You get what I mean? What about Melissa? Melissa's going for a nice walk right now. She's walking in her neighborhood, and her neighbor sees her walking by and says, Melissa, how do you have glass skin on your face? Did you do something? And she goes, no, I'm trying this new K Beauty. What is that? That becomes the catalyst to start a conversation and onboard new people. You guys with me? Every single one of you are beautiful on this call. Let your glass skin shine, be the catalyst, and let's close some business. All right, now, events to attend, whether it's an orientation or a presentation. Guys, we live in the day of the dot-com boom, digital click and order, okay? We live in a time where you could conveniently get on a meeting through your phone, right? The convenience, right? So don't give me an excuse that you can't. Yes, you can, okay? Get on the orientation day and get on the presentation day. Yes, you want to learn, but also you must learn how to do an orientation presentation, how to do a business presentation. Why? Because at some point, you're going to be a leader. You need to be a leader, stay a leader. But here's the good news. Once you learn all of this, there is nothing new to learn. Think about that. There is nothing new to learn. Once you learn it, you got it. Rinse and repeat. And that's how you get progress. All right, guys. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the starter kits. We have the 1500, 1000, and the 300 kit. Get in where you fit in. Okay. Listen. Okay. We all come from different walks of life. What we're always interested in is your time investment. Okay. We don't really make much selling you a kit. However, I must disclose this, okay? If you can, try to get started with the 1000 or the 1500 kit because number one, you're leaving money on the table, okay? There is an extra 10% that you're leaving on the table because by coming in at least at the 1000 kit, you unlock your uni level pay right from the jump. It's going to help. The second part is if you get a 300 kit, all good, right? But I would consider you a loyal customer because you can't really build a business with one set, right? Doing the boo say boo and the double cleanse, and then you have your daughter or your sister borrowing products, and then and then you want to do a wow party or like a K pop-up. It just doesn't work, right? Now, the reason why you need at least a starter set of 1000 or 1500 is you're going to do onslaught sales when you do that K pop-up. You're going to get people that want to buy it right then and there. And you're going to have your own set, which you're not supposed to share. And then you're going to have a demo set where you could have people test out the products like Costco, right? So remember, some of these things you're going to need it as a tool. But here's the mindset I want you to have. If you're a new person and you're thinking, how am I supposed to use $1,000 worth of products? You got to shift your mindset a little bit, right? Now, if you say I'm opening a skincare business in K Beauty and you're anticipating to sell products, you will quickly realize even a 1500 starter kit is not enough product once you start gaining that traction, okay? But again, get in where you fit in. I had to tell you what I know because I've seen it time and time again like deja vu, but we value your time most importantly. All right, let's talk about the Riman retreats. Obviously, for this year, people in the EU and the UK, you will be headed to Monaco. Yes, the country of billionaires, right? Where a billionaire is considered poor, right? And if you're a trillionaire, you're rich. No, I'm just kidding. But I really want to go here too. But this has been set aside for the European markets for spring 2027. So these are the rules as follows. If you get 1000 travel points, you qualify for tier 1 for a trip for 2, 1500 travel points, tier 2 for a trip for 1 with a $500 reimbursement, and tier 3, 2500 travel points for a trip for 2 and $1,000 reimbursement, and 3000 travel points for tier 4 for a trip for two and a $2,000 reimbursement. So this is how you could kind of take advantage of all of accruing the points. You just need to do the required money-making activities that we already do, right? So for retail customer orders, for every 100 SP that you sell, you get 1 travel point, maxed at 5 travel points per order. Monthly performance, if you're a team leader, you do your 10,000 SP, you get your 40 travel points. Do an additional 10,000, you get another 40 travel points. Same thing as a director, do your 100,000 SP, you get 100 travel points. You double that, you double your travel points as well. Throughout the year, you're going to see special promotions, additional travel point promotions for product launches, special packages. Look out for those. As you rank advance, right? If you become a manager, you get 20 travel points. Senior manager, 50 travel points. Team leader, 200 travel points. Director, 500 travel points. Senior director, 750 travel points. And national director, 1,000 travel points. And when you personally frontline sponsor a planner and you help them become senior manager, like we said, senior manager factory, you will be awarded an additional 30 travel points. Obviously, directors are going to be going to Dubai. Let's fly through this through the time because of certain time limitations. So with that said, I got a chance to fly through some of our orientation trainings. But with that said, as I end the orientation training, I am going to be doing a special leadership training following the end of our orientation. And today, I am going to be doing a special training on actually how to onboard and properly get a commitment after your one-on-one, after your K-pop up is done. I will be doing a special training on actually how to seal the deal properly and really what to know, what kind of mindset to have, and how to understand how all of this really works, right? Did you know that there is a method to the madness when we sign somebody up effectively? So we must all suffer one of two things: the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. Okay, Jim Rohn said this, and it is absolutely true, right? So if you're going to suffer, you might as well do something uncomfortable that becomes the comfortable that is going to benefit you and help you grow. All right. So first and foremost, the most important thing is called breaking out of your shell. It helps you be intuitive and raises your level of awareness. Breaking out of your shell. This has to do with doing the uncomfortable till it becomes the comfortable. Who do you see on this screen? We see, my business partner, Mr. Timothy Herr, and we see President of Sales, Mr. Danny Bay. You see, when these two gentlemen, today we see them as polished, established leaders. When they first got started, here's what I will tell you. They weren't born out of the womb doing presentations as superstar network marketers. They all started somewhere, right? Now, the reason why I want to show you this is because it all started one day back in 2002 in Las Vegas at UNLV when Tim first met Danny for the first time in 2002. And what Tim actually did is he was a shy Korean American exchange student, barely spoke any English, working at Starbucks. But what Tim actually did is he took him to UNLV in the morning and they hammered prospecting and one-on-ones all day long. And all day long, they got no after no after no after rejection after rejection after rejection after rejection. And they did this for about 2 weeks with nothing to show for. But remember, there's a saying that I say in our business: a yes will help your business grow, but a no will make your character grow. And that in itself is what forces you to break out of your shell. And looking back, this is why Tim did what he did with Danny in the early days. He was trying to get him to become uncomfortable and become comfortable with the uncomfortable. And that in itself is the process of breaking out of your shell. If you're not willing to break out of your shell, it's going to be a longer process for you because the truth is you must stop caring about what other people think. Because the truth is other people aren't thinking about you. They're thinking of themselves. Okay. All right. Now, when it comes to really being able to close, right? You close the presentation, get the commitment. Here's what I will tell you. Good closers, they know how to sell features, right? So they're going to have product confidence, product orientated, and they're going to lead with the opportunity. This is the low-hanging fruit. This is the best way to become a team leader, following the system. Now, this is where you become good. But how you could become great as a leader is great closers always sell the outcome. They're consistent, persistent, and driven by the system. Okay. Now, what that means is when they sell the outcome, they're great at showing the proof, right? Maybe a nice car they were able to get, maybe a new home they went into, or maybe a nice watch, or being flashy, right? The early success, that's what most people are kind of attracted to, right? Wanting to show off, wanting to flex. But even so, in their own right, even though you should still maintain a level of humility, even so, in their own right, they get to do that, right? Because they paid the price, they made the results happen, they helped others do it, they achieved the things that we often talk about, right? The things that we always promote. So if you look at like a team leader or director, they're great closers because they know how to sell the outcome. They know how to promote the event. They know how to get you to a convention. They know this. Now let's move on to elite closers. Okay. Elite closers, what they're good at is selling feelings. They're good at painting a picture, telling a story, and drawing a vision with you inside of that, right? They have great posture. They're great at giving the transfer of emotion. Okay, now this comes with time, probably 100,000 no's and one-on-ones and presentations. Okay, I'm exaggerating, but it takes an X amount of period of time to know and dictate and be intuitive, right? Because why? What do I teach? What have I taught you guys in my recruiting training several weeks ago? Anywhere and everywhere in the world you travel, you're going to meet people from all walks of life with different faces, but in actuality, you'll always meet the same four characteristics of people, right? The shark, the urchin, the whale, and the dolphin, right? So when you meet these people, you're always going to be conformed into a matrix of four characters that you're always going to be bouncing around, checking the temperature, right? Once you know how to catch that and do that, then you're able to sell feelings, transfer of emotion. And people see this through your aura, your body language, your posture, the way you speak, the way you say words, the way you dress. Kind of like when you see Danny for the first time, you already know he's one of the big dogs, right? He already has the posture. He sells the feelings, the way he articulates. You already know that that gentleman is refined in the fire for decades, and he already knows the unconscious competence of the matter. Okay. This is where you want to become, where you want to end up. Now, you don't become this, you end up here through a series of transformations, like how you walk up a flight of stairs. Okay. If you're on flight stair 5, you can't jump to 50. You can get there step by step, but you can't jump. This is the process you must go through to be a great closer. In the beginning, when you're not good, when you're insecure and you feel unconfident, you sell features by borrowing your upline's confidence. This is why we edify. But once you have the story, once you have the outcome, you become great because you have the confidence within yourself. And once you've created a lot of great closers, you've created a lot of people to get the results that they wanted. In turn, they respect you. That's when you become elite. Needs no words. But this happens through becoming refined in the fire. It doesn't happen by self-appointment or self-declaration. This happens by serving the field. And in return, this is what you get. You sacrifice and you serve your people, but it's not time wasted. In return, you get something that no one can ever take away, and that is skill and intuition. All right, so embracing your journey from good to elite. Remember, I said this, right? Good closers, they sell features, right? Now, in the beginning, because you don't have the story, this is why we sell the company revenue, the company's success story, the company's byung pool, and then we edify our upline. Now, when you become a team leader or a director, yes, we edify the company, but you'll see the matrix of the story change a little bit. It becomes more about the leader. The aura of the company is still there, but this is actually great because remember, people don't get started because of the company, right? That's documentation beating the conversation. People get started because of the presenter in front of them and how that person made you feel, whether it was confidence, whether it was posture, aura, or whether you gave them a bad experience and they decided not to join. Even that, right? It's irrelevant of the product, the function, or even the brand. It's all about how you made that person feel, right? Again, elite closers, same thing. When you come across Tim Herr, myself, Karen Kang, Steve Hyun, or Mr. Danny Bay, you know these people are elite closers because they've already been refined. They have the posture. They know how to transfer that emotion, right? So eventually start as selling your features, edify, but this is where you will end up. Now, when I say elite closers, it's not necessarily polished like Danny or Tim or myself, like a guy. There's many polished females here, like Karen Kang. You have Brianna Michaels. You have Miss Kim Weimer. You have Miss Kate Twig. You have so many people that are able to sell feelings because they went through that um, refined journey. Okay. So when it comes to closing, why warm market matters so much. Okay, hold on. Let me share this computer sound. Okay. Listen to this. Okay. I remember earlier in my orientation, I talked about Brian Tracy. This is the world-renowned Brian Tracy, right? He's kind of similar to a Jim Rohn. But listen to what he says, why warm market matters when you're making a close through your contact
If
person.
you're in sales, as I was for many years, you don't really have a choice over the product. You have to assume that your company has produced a good product or service and they have priced it well in a competitive market. So your job is to sell more of it. And this brings us to the great breakthrough of the 21st century, is that all sales in the 21st century are relationship sales. They're relationship
Relationship.
sales, which means that people do not buy the product or service, they buy how they feel about the person selling it. And then the product or service becomes important. So the first job of the sales professional is to take the time to develop a relationship of trust and credibility with the prospect.
Relationship and trust with the prospect, right? This is what Brian Tracy is talking about. They sell features, sell outcomes, sell feelings, right? How you made them feel. Remember, before this video, I told you what Riman has to offer and flex, that is a given. That's not what people are buying into. They're buying into you because they're going to trust you and they feel like you can take them where they want to go. This is why leadership is important. This is why you must plug into the system and embed yourself with leaders. Okay. So, based on industry data, closing rates for a warm market contact have an existing relationship with your business that can range from 15 to over 30%. Some studies citing rates as high as 50%. So, you have up to at least a 50% chance of a yes conversion if it's somebody that you know and there's a foundation of trust. Okay. Now, this is significantly higher than the average closing rate for cold leads, which hovers at 1 to 2%. So you have to talk to 100 to maybe get one person. Okay. This is why you're
If
warm
you're in sales,
when you're closing business, right? Now let's talk about this. Why do the top producing planners, right? Like team leaders, directors, senior directors, national directors get rejected way more than you and they still win? Think about that. How is it that they get way more no's, way more rejections, and they still win? Why? Because they start with a predictable formula. Did you know there's a predictable formula when getting a yes? Okay. Yesterday, I was on the Spanish call with Fernando Musso. He's a top producing team leader, about to be a director. And I asked him on the call, when you asked your wife to be your girlfriend on the first try, did she say yes? And he said, no, it took me 1 year to get her. So think about that, right? There is obviously a process when you are doing a close. It doesn't matter if you're convincing somebody, making a sale. This has to do with psychology, okay? So here is a 6-step process on why top producers play on a completely different playing field. Once you understand this, your emotions will go out the door and it'll be all on logic and a numbers game for you. Okay. The averages. Okay. The first part is ask a closing question. Did you see a way? Then listen carefully. What this means is when you ask a closing question, it's a lot of series of questions of asking rhetorical questions where they say yes a lot. Did did you see a way to make it happen for your family? Yes. Do you want to retire your family? Yes. Do you want to make more money? Yes. Do you want some more money and time on your hands? Yes. Do you want to travel the world with your family? Yes. Do you think Riman might possibly be away? Yeah, possibly. Right? It's all about asking the closing question and then letting them talk. Once you ask the question, you got to stay quiet for about a good 20 seconds. Okay. The reason why is you're letting that person speak what's on their mind genuinely. When you interrupt, you're stopping all of that. Okay. Step two is the assumptive close. Assuming they are going to sign up, whether they made the decision or not, fill out the application for them. Always expect a premium starter set. Now, what you duplicate decide is what duplicates your time's worth. Now, what I mean by this is don't be pushy and force them, but act as if they're going to do it because you're setting them up for success. Because a lot of the times when they get started, they're going to trust you and help them in wanting to help them where they want to go. Okay. Now, obviously, if you know better and you want somebody to be a senior manager, getting a 300 pack isn't going to help them. You have to set them up for the right success. Okay. Now, step three is isolating objections. This is where your confidence comes in. You have to have posture, confidence, a little sense of urgency, and a fear of loss, but lead with honesty. Here, this is where a lot of the times people are going to have I have questions, but what about this? But what about that? The uncertainty comes in when you start the assumptive close. They don't say yes right away. You have to know that they're going to be, I'm interested, but at the isolating objection part, this is the mindset. They're skeptical, doubtful, but in the back of their mind, they're hopeful. In their heart, they're slightly hopeful. That's the mindset they're in. So you have to remember, get ready to isolate objections. But remember, when you isolate an objection and you get the objection out of the way, remember, there are no new objections. Remember that, okay? And when it comes to the cushion part, step 4, how you do it is by relating. Feel, felt, found. I know how you feel. I felt the same way too, but here's what I found out, right? Yes, I know how you feel. I felt the same way. I was skeptical in the beginning, right? I felt that way too. But what I found out is it requires a paradigm shift. A job is not the only way to make money. This is about building a distribution channel, getting paid on products, right? Once you get the objections out of the way, there are no new objections, right? People will be afraid not to join you if they know you know where you are going. If they are still sitting there after the presentation, that does not mean no. It means convince me again because of uncertainty. But remember, uncertainty means they want to, but they're scared of the unknown. If they were a no, they would have told you firmly, politely, and kindly, this is not for me at this time. Thank you so much, right? They'll let you know. But if they're unsure, that means convince me again. That's literally the truth. Give me a reason to say yes. Like get the obstacles out of the way. I know it's uncomfortable and you feel like you're invading someone's personal space, but this is how it works. This is how it's been time and time again. Now, how you want to do the delivery, that is up to you. Okay. You could be soft spoken, you could be nice. That's okay. But remember, whether it's a real estate sale, a car sale, an iPhone sale, this is how it works, right? Even if somebody's at the Apple store looking to buy an iPhone, they're right. A salesman is going to assume you came here to buy an iPhone, right? But you have questions, whether it's the price, the software, how does this work? How does that work? Then the cushion comes in where the salesperson tells you, well, this is what I found out. If you do this, you do that, everything's fine. You could use it perfectly. And then when they have the objections, right? Well, what about the warranty? What about Apple Pay? What about the Apple Care? There's going to be objections. But once you answer the objections, there are no new objections. And then they go to payment. Think about the process that happens when you walk into an Apple store and you're going to buy an iPhone, right? They come in, ask a closing question. Are you looking to buy an iPhone? They wait for your answer. They assume the assumptive close because you're going to buy it, right? Then they have questions. They isolate the objections. Then they relate by telling you how to go about it on this product. And there's actually no problems. Once you overcome the objection, there's no new objection and they pay. Every process is the same, right? But here's the thing. When receiving payment, just stay quiet and be normal. Don't be weird about it. When you go to the mart and you're paying for your groceries, is the cashier weird about it to you? Are they awkward and shy about asking you for money? You're not asking for a handout. They're buying products. You're commercing with them. So stay normal. Don't be afraid. Don't be awkward. Have posture. Okay. The best in the game will hear a no and they will barely flinch. Let me explain what this is. Okay. When you're brand new, you get a no, you're like, huh, I don't know if I can do this. Am I going to make it? 2 months into the business, what is happening? 6 months into the business, no? Great. I'll follow up with you in 3 months. 1 year into the business, you get a no. Next, 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 yes, next, next, yes, next, 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 yes, 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 next, next, yes. Now you're just moving on averages, right? So average sale people tie their confidence to the outcome. Most will hear a no and immediately lose confidence. Most are inconsistent and lack discipline. Top salespeople are focused on doing the right steps in the sales process over and over and over, no matter the results. I don't deviate from my formula. I don't deviate from family, occupation, recreation, money. I don't deviate from feel, felt, found. I always work in this sequence. So if you do this over and over and over again, then you know recruiting is nothing personal. Then you become unstoppable once the emotion is removed because you know it's a numbers game, not a convincing game. All right. So timing your close, okay? So in the short term, people that you influence that look up to you, you're likely going to be able to sign them up right then and there because they trust you, right? So in that case, be firm, hard close, have confidence and show them where they are able to go with you. When you do that, a magical thing happens. Speed and momentum gets cultivated. Okay. Now, the mid game is like pretty much people your equal peers, right? They don't look up to you, but they trust you, right? Like somebody that I grew up with since I was 4 years old. He trusts me, loves me like a friend, but he doesn't respect me and look up to me, right? He's my friend. So this will take a little more time. The fortune in the follow up. You might need your upline edification, and then there's the long game, right? There's the people that are going to tell you no or not right now, right? People that influence you maybe. But those are the long game you want to play. Remember, the 7 no's equals a yes. As long as you can follow up to 7 times, you're likely to get a yes. Because think about it. If they're going to tolerate you an additional 7 more times, that means they're saying, explain it again. Tell me again. Say what? That again? Ah, you know what? You're right. Hey, I'm in. That's the process. If you could get to 7 no's, meaning they'll tolerate you, they'll keep answering and telling you no. That means ask me again, explain again. That's the subliminal messaging happening because if it's a no is a no is a no. You'll know it's a no. Okay. All right. So when getting a yes, a person's mind subconsciously looks for these 3 things. Okay. So if you want a higher closing average conversion, remember these 3 things must check the box. Reason. Are you giving that prospect a reason to do this? Does it make clear, logical sense, the reason why they should do it and be involved? Is there a profit to be made? They must believe what they get is worth more than they give. Now, actions needed for success. They must be able to execute. When offering starter sets, find the balance between affordability and best value because you must set them up for success. You got to get them results. But remember this, you must achieve all 3 to get a yes. Miss one of the 3, you will get a no, and it will require follow-up and a little extra work, okay? Now, if you keep doing K pop-ups over and over and over like a broken record, what you're going to be able to do is do a K pop-up and then almost do like an out-of-body experience while you're doing the K pop-up and have a level of awareness to read the room while you're doing it. That is when you're able to sell feelings in a presentation. That's the destination you want to get to in the process of recruiting and knowing the skill of getting a yes. Okay. Now, every no is a clue. What do I need to change to turn this into a yes? Don't be thrown off by rejection, but use it as an indicator. Most people take rejection and quit, or it's detrimental, but you must use it as an indicator, kind of like a compass on how to navigate you and check which criteria wasn't met. Did it make clear logical sense? Did they see themselves making a profit? And did they say to themselves, I can actually do this? It's doable. Okay. All right. Let's talk about the dreaded, I need to think about it. How many of y'all heard I need to think about it after a K pop up, right? Everyone is raising their hand, including me. But here's the good news. Nobody just goes home and thinks about it. Do you think when I had to think about it, I went home and I sat in this position and sat for hours and thought about it? Ain't nobody thinking about it. What you need to do as the leader is figure out one of the two. They don't want to buy, and that's okay. Some will, some won't, some wait. So what? Who's next? We are in the business of sorting. But if they do want to buy, we need to find out the unvoiced concern. And if they do want to buy, 9 times out of 10, it's usually the money situation. And a lot of the missed chances come from failed awareness. Remember, yes, we want to make a sale, but the more important thing is getting someone's buy-in and their time investment and them bringing their warm market list to the table. Because a stud may bring a dud, but a dud can also bring a stud. This is why we never, ever prejudge anybody, okay? But what we need to do is understand clearly the difference of the two. Do they want to buy or they don't want to buy? And figuring out gracefully without hurting, their pride about it. And once you're able to kind of blanket somebody in like that, they'll remember you for that. And when the time is right, they'll come to you. I've experienced this firsthand. Okay. Start your presentation with the close. Right now, I'm going to give you enough information to make an educated decision on Riman that can maybe help your financial future. Obviously, saying I got to think about it is a nice way to saying no. So, after the presentation, just can you be honest with me if it's a no, no, or a yes, yes? Look at me there and get a handshake. What you're doing psychologically when you do this is you're removing the rebuttal from the beginning. You get what I mean? And it forces a person to be honest with you about their time. And when they're honest and you're honest and you reciprocate that, you could have a real meaningful conversation in a way where even though they can't sign up right then and there, there's a pathway or a plan or a follow-up or another reason to meet again, right? And that's all it really takes, right? I know you want to go for the close, but closing is also a process, okay? Okay, overcoming objections. Now remember, questions usually are the answer, okay? So 6 reminders about objections. Let's go over this, okay? Objections are buying signs, not rejection signs. Objections are a natural process in the decision-making process. Give us knowledge on where to spend more time. Even when you buy a car, you have some objections about, what about this? What about that? Do you want a Beamer, a BMW, a Mercedes, or a Bentley, right? Or a Range Rover, right? It's like there are going to be objections and things that need to be answered. Most objections are misunderstandings that need to be addressed or questions that need to be answered. Again, there are no new objections, meaning once the objections are addressed, we can move forward. Repeat the objection, jump on their side, and become an assistant buyer. That's where feel, felt, found is absolutely effective. All right. So taking it away, why do some buy more or insist on joining when you tell them not to? Pretty much reverse psychology in sales really works. Maybe it's not for you. When you take away, there's a psychological shift and something powerful happens because the pressure to buy is removed immediately. And when there's no pressure, FOMO starts to set in, right? Their point of view completely flips subconsciously and they justify why it's a great purchase and they feel it's valuable and needed. So remember, no one wants to be sold, but everyone loves to buy if it is their own decision. So remember, like Tim Her says, you can't make a horse thirsty, but you can lead it to water. It's the same thing, right? No one wants to be sold, but everyone loves to buy if it is their decision. Now let's talk about payment, right? Same thing. Be matter of fact. Like when you go to the cashier, ain't no cashier scared to ask you for payment. Same thing. You're not asking for free money. They're buying product and they're getting inventory and rightfully going to get world-class products that they love and get to enjoy, right? So don't be weird about it. Have confidence and make sure you help them with the process and let them think things through on their terms, right? All you need to do is have confidence and act as if, okay? So remember, yes is not a goal. It is an outcome. It is a science. It is a person's mind subconsciously getting answered these three things: reason, profit, and is it doable? Can I do it? Am I going to make more than what I put in? And is it actually something I can do? Also, prioritizing the knowledge and strategy of what top producers actually do. They start with a closing question. Start with the assumptive close that they're probably going to sign up. And at this point, we even take the time to fill out the application for them, right? Isolate objections. Even at the Apple store, you're going to get objections about a product before making a sale, right? But objections is not negativity. It's remove the fear so I can move forward, right? Then you do the feel, felt, found, relating with them, you overcome objections, and you receive payment. Practice this over and over and over again. You might be a little rough around the edges, but keep this in mind as a sequence. And eventually, as you keep doing this over and over and over again, your team will start to replicate this as well. All right. So here's a few things I want you to have kind of as a bullet note. Obviously, did you see a way? Asking closing questions, relating, 7 no's equals a yes. Pretty much a summary of what I went over, but pretty much have the application ready, have posture, confidence, sense of urgency, and a fear of loss. That is always usually effective. But do it in your own way, right? You don't have to be pushy or closey, but do it in a way where time is limited, because as the markets start to open and more people know about Riman, the exclusivity is going to change, right? So in closing, what I want to tell you guys is, in the world of recruiting and closing, potential planners and customers were never yours to begin with. Think about that. In the world of recruiting, closing people, or someone on your list, they were never yours to begin with. So you have to know you have everything to gain and nothing to lose, and you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. 20 years ago, my first network marketing convention, that's when I first saw Mr. Danny Bay do a presentation. And in his presentation, he talked about the story of the rhino. And he said the rhino has 3 characteristics, right? It has a horn, peripheral vision where it can only see forward, and it's got thick skin, okay? You must have thick skin, because what people say shouldn't matter, because you're in control of your success and your future. You should have peripheral vision and only have your eyes on the prize and what is important. And the third part is, a rhino has a massive horn. You should have the attitude, over, under, or through. You're going to find a way or make one and get to the destination you need, because your loved ones depend on you to do it. This is the mindset I would love for you to have. Now, in closing, here's what I want to talk about. I know you guys are in the Europe area, and soon we will be having convention events over there. But for those of you that have people in the United States, or if you're making your way to the United States in the summer, this August, we will be kicking off our US convention, right? And in this training, I talked about the transfer of emotions, right? See, what happens is, at a convention, it happens at a bigger scale where emotions get transferred. And the belief of, can I do it? Is it profitable? And is it something that I can actually do? These three things will always be answered in a big public event. So with that said, if you have people there to promote, if you can be there, I strongly recommend you guys be there, or send your prospect. Me and Tim will be there to support you guys. But remember, building this business, gaining momentum, and growing is all a part of building from event to event with the transfer of emotion. So with that said, I want to thank everybody for being on the call with me tonight. I know it's evening time over there. I want to thank everybody that is committed to the business. I believe this coming Thursday, top producing director, Mr. Rodrigo Arvide, is going to be doing the Riman opportunity call. So we will see you guys Thursday. Thank you so much for your time. Have a great evening, and God bless. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.